paumpisa lang kami. Pero matino naman kami. Pero kung isang pass or fail lang, baka mahirapan talaga. So, and in the light of these hearings, baka maraming ang pupunta sa inyo para mag-accredit just for the seal of good housekeeping.
Sir, just to rebut a bit, it's nice to have that, but as I see it, at the end of the day, we will be tackling standards already because we will be having different standards for different types. So that has to be studied. We will have to study that. Because if we talk to standard, it has to be just one. Because that's the standard. So, but if we have standards for different types, I think we have to study that also. But thank you for the suggestion and recommendation. We will do it, sir.
Okay. Code NGO, Mr.
Mr. Chair, could I
Senator Angara, please.
Just a few questions, if it's all right with the committee, for PCNC. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon, po.
It's my first time actually to be acquainted with this board, so I was reading the Executive Order 720. What is the composition of the board, the PCNC?
Basically, it's nine members coming in from accredited organizations within PCNC, plus the BIR Commissioner as co-chair.
So 10, including the
10, sir. Yes.
And who are the accredited institutions there? I read in the EO that it's 6 associations or federations of NGOs. No? Are those the ones you're referring to?
No, sir. Those 6 are the ones who established PCNC. But there are between 325 to 375 accredited NGOs with live accreditations because this come and go because of expiry of accreditations. We have between 325 and 375, and the 9 board members come from these organizations.
How do you choose? Is it like a corporation based on your ownership of the...
So every year we have a General Assembly in May, and we have elections every year.
Okay, so who's on the board currently?
Right now, I'm the chair. My vice chair is Tessie Angsi. The members are on the corporate side, Linda Ataide of SM Foundation. I represent Aboitiz Foundation in the board. PWDs, differently abled, is represented by Tahanang Walang Hagdan. Father Anton Pascual of Caritas is a member of the board. Gil Salazar was the former of PDAP. PDAP, it's a Canadian, not PDAP Senate. But he was the former executive director of Philippine Business for Social Progress, PBSP.
What's the last name?
Gil Salazar.
Salazar.
Lani Nanyangas is also a member of the board.
Formerly of PDIC.
Yes, sir. The former health secretary, Jaime Galvestan, is also a member of the board. I suppose that's 9 already, sir.
You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're missing one.
Sir, the BIR commissioner.
Kasama na siya doon. Mentioned the chair, vice chair, SM Foundation.
The executive director of Code NGO, Dodo Makasaet, is
okay.
also part. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, you're here.
And then from your establishment in 2007, nagbago ba yung membership niyo or it's roughly the same?
It's roughly the same because
organizations are the ones being...
Yes, sir. In and out. Some don't accredit anymore because they don't need it. Some there are a lot of new accreditations also.
So when did you reach this level of 325? Was it early on in your inception that you got a lot of members or continuous, it's gradual lang?
It's gradual, sir. It was gradual. It started in 1989, so...
Yung PCNC...
1998, I think.
Yung PCNC accreditation, that's a sine qua non to get the tax deductions under Section 34H.
Yes, sir.
Meaning the BIR will not give it if you don't have the PCNC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in a sense, it's a captured market.
Yes, sir. In a sense, also, it's so hard to get because we're pretty much strict.
That's good. That's good. I think it should. That's right.
Yes,
you're
sir.
on the right track there. So Since your establishment under the EO, ilan na yung nabigyan ng taxes under 34H?
More than 1,200, 1,300, if I'm not mistaken. But live is between 325 to 375.
Okay. Are you at liberty to share that list with the community?
Sir, it's in the website, sir.
It's on your website?
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
That helps our accredited NGOs also to get donations
Yeah.
because of the seal of good housekeeping.
I'm sure. I'm sure. That's
donors from
that's
abroad,
the
yes.
purpose, no? That's the
Yeah.
purpose talaga. When you say live, how do you qualify someone who's not live?
They maybe their accreditation has expired and is in the process of renewal.
Gaano katagal yung year to year ba yan?
It's 1, 3, and 5, sir.
1, 3, and 5.
1, 3, and 5.
And that varies according to the cost yung binabayaran sa inyo?
Hindi po. It depends on the capability of the
Or your assessment of
the organization, sir.
And of these 300 plus na sinabi niyo po ay active, ilan po yung involved sa typhoon relief efforts?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't have the exact figures now, but a lot of them are also based in the Visayas and Mindanao. A lot of these organizations that are accredited are based in the Visayas and Mindanao. And knowing us having offices in the Visayas before, we would know that their hearts are still in their for their islands.
So, yung mga foreign donations dito dinadaan sa mga accredited?
Meron po.
So of the 300, who got the bulk of these donations? Would you say?
Hindi po natin masabi kasi hindi po namin iniisa-isa yung
You wouldn't know, ano?
Yeah, po.
So pagka-donate, hindi dumadaan sa inyo?
Hindi po. Diretso na po
You're
sa kanila.
simply an accrediting
Yes.
body.
Yes, sir. We would know about that once the accreditation process would be done again. So we would look at the financials again.
Okay. Are you involved in any way in the Adopt a School program?
Yes, sir. Who, sir? As appointees or as PCNC?
No. Not as a appointee, but as an accrediting agency. Are you
No, sir.
also the
No, sir.
strictly for charitable donation?
Yes, sir.
I see.
ADAPA School is left to the accredited organizations if they want to deal with DepEd straight.
Okay. Sige. Salamat, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Salamat din po.
Okay, Code NGO, do you wish to say anything in the light of the discussion?
So we just like to manifest appreciation for the chair for recognizing our position paper that we submitted on the topic of the hearing. We have two main interests on the topic of the hearing. One is of good governance or the protection of public funds, and the second is CSO good governance. So we also make it a point to promote that NGOs themselves have to be run well. It just so happened that in this particular issue, both of them became interconnected because bad CSO governance led to the malversation of public funds. So those are the two main interests of the NGO sector, at least for Code NGO, in the issue. And we would also like to thank the committee for exploring the topic of CSO good governance and for inviting PCNC. Code NGO is one of the organizations, among many others back then, that pushed for the creation of PCNC as a world model in self-regulating. And the BIR certification was used as the incentive for NGOs to want to comply with the strict standards of PCNC. So we also have specific recommendations in the paper. Some of them addressed also to some COA guidelines that are used by agencies when they transact financially with NGOs. And others are recommendations on things agencies specifically can do when they actually transact with NGOs.
Yes, we have received your position paper, and we acknowledge it, and we are very grateful for your participation in this committee. We will certainly take a hard look at your recommendations. Finally, the GPP government GPPB. Mr. Attorney Dennis Santiago. You are the Executive Director of the Government Procurement Policy Board. Do you wish to add anything to the line of the discussion? Closer to the mic, please.
The Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office is the technical research and administrative arm of the Government Procurement Policy Board. The board was created under Republic Act 9184, or commonly known as the Government Procurement Reform Act. This was passed in 2003. Our board comprises of 12 members, secretaries from the government, and one from the private sector. The board is responsible for purely procurement policy making in the country, so it can formulate amendments to or revisions to the procurement to the implementing rules and regulations, and it crafted out standard bidding documents, crafted out procurement manuals. On our end, the Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office, we are rolling out a nationwide capacity building program for procurement practitioners in government. We do trainings. We have fly-in teams to assist government agencies in the application, interpretation, and implementation of the procurement law. Insofar as the NGO procurement is concerned, the Government Procurement Policy Board in 2007 passed a resolution amending the IRR, wherein for specifically earmarked, when an appropriation law specifically earmarks an amount for projects to be specifically contracted out to NGOs, then a mode of procurement being looked at could be either competitive bidding or through a negotiated mode or negotiated modality. And in the guidelines, there are several parameters provided there, wherein before a procuring entity or an implementing agency may procure the services of an NGO, the NGO will have to be qualified through some legal, technical, and financial parameters which are identified in the guidelines. And then as a general mode of procurement, competitive bidding is the applicable mode. An NGO can participate in procurement by competing with other regular corporations or manufacturers, companies bidding out with government. But the only qualification is that if the appropriations law specifically earmark a fund to be utilized for projects to be implemented by NGOs, then the procuring entity or the implementing agency may opt to have NGOs bid amongst themselves, or specifically look at technically, financially, and legally capable NGO to implement the project.
So that when there is a contracting out of services by a government entity to an NGO, as stated in the COA report, two requirements. One, there must be a law or a resolution. And two, there must be bidding, or as you said, negotiation.
Negotiated, yes, sir.
Yes, under certain conditions.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with the findings?
I have not gone through all the findings,
No,
sir,
but at least for what we said.
yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
do.
And also, there's a COA guidelines also on the engagement of an NGO, sir. And this is implemented side by side with the resolution passed by the board in 2007.
Okay. Attorney Villanueva, there's this idea being forwarded by certain sectors that there must be an accreditation of NGOs that deal with government. If you don't deal with government, you can go to PCNC or whatever. You don't even have to go to anywhere except be registered. But if you deal with government for goods or services, then there must be an accreditation. I take note of the point of Code NGO that said let's not centralize it in any one government agency, but there's also that suggestion put forth by several sectors that there must be accreditation and seal of good housekeeping. And kanina there was some discussion among us. Yeah, sino? Pero sino? Then somebody suggested if we can expand the mandate of the GCG. How would you react to that, sir?
Well, if that is done statutorily, we are more than glad to take it. I'd just like to share with the committee, though, that in the light of the PDAP, I was part of a session that was done among key cabinet members that actually said there must be a proper accreditation, especially when it comes to the CCT. These are large amounts of money that are being dispensed out. Sometimes they have to go to NGOs. And therefore, the accreditation that must be done is something that is responsive, including the amounts that certain NGOs of a certain level are able to do. So, in other words, there is a certain type of accreditation and hierarchy that is going to be undertaken in order to ensure that never again would such bogus rounds be perpetrated. But I do agree that there should be a certain accreditation that should be done. And if it's whether it's the GCG or any other agency that does it, it should be done properly and in a calibrated way.
Mr. Chair, just a few questions for the Government Procurement Policy Board. I know everyone's hungry for lunch, so I'll keep it brief. Wala ho bang violation ng Procurement Act dun sa pagpili or pag-single out ng mga NGOs to be given projects? Well, I'm just wondering. No? I'm not so familiar because I've never given a project to an NGO.
Thank you for the question, sir. I will have to qualify if the fund is generic, meaning to say that there's no appropriations law specifically earmark a fund for NGO. Then we cannot single out under the procurement law. We cannot single out an NGO and identify an NGO for an award of contract. The NGO must compete because under the law, competition is the primary mode of procurement. However, if the appropriations law or an ordinance specifically earmark that fund for an NGO, then there's a situation wherein, because of this appropriations ordinance, the Government Procurement Policy Board passed this resolution in order to provide for parameters and control and to control mechanisms such that the award cannot just be given to an NGO, such that the NGOs even if they're specifically earmarked funds, they will have to still either compete amongst themselves, or if a negotiated modality will be embraced by the procuring entity or the implementing agency, they will still have to compete against 3 NGOs. They cannot go directly to one.
What do you call that kind of bidding? Yung pag tatlo lang sila, hindi open to the whole. That's still competitive bidding.
Yes, there are 2 modalities under the guidelines. One is competitive bidding amongst NGOs, and this is basically adopting the rules on competition in the procurement law. On the other hand, the negotiated modality, this is a situation wherein the procuring entity will identify 3 NGOs. These NGOs will submit their price proposal. They compete amongst themselves. And then after that, the procuring entity to the Bids and Awards Committee will identify the lowest calculated bidder. And then this bidder will be now requested to submit all the legal, the technical, and the financial eligibility requirements before the NGO is given the award of the contract.
Dito ho sa I assume you kept track of some of the developments sa case na to, no? Was there a violation of the procurement law when the implementing agencies singled out these particular NGOs?
Sir, I would refer to the provision of the law, specifically Section 4, when it says the law is applicable, the procurement law is applicable to all branches of government, national government agencies, GOCCs, GFIs, even SUCs.
So kung walang sorry to cut you off. No? So kung walang exceptional provision like the ones you mentioned in the GAA or a specific provision mentioning that NGO, there should have been. That's your opinion.
Yes, sir. There should have been the proper selection by using either the provisions of RA 9184 and the provided guidelines I mentioned earlier, or perhaps the chairperson, Tan, can also explain the COA guidelines on how to engage NGOs, because there's a parallel guidelines from COA on this.
I see. Yeah. The chairman, I think, is hungry, and so am I. So, and I'm sure the chairperson also. Ma'am, would you care to, I actually, that's my last question, so, yeah.
Salamat po. From our reading of Republic Act 9184, which is the procurement law, there are actually generally two ways by which an NGO can participate in government contracts or transactions. One is, like anybody else, a supplier of either goods or services, and as such must go through the usual procedure, which is a competitive bidding. And there are certain exceptions which the GPPB has mentioned when they are specifically, there's a specific authority for contracting funds to NGOs, then pwedeng negotiated bidding, negotiated procurement. But even under a negotiated procurement, they have to put up a bond. None of this was ever followed in what we saw. So it was a complete, as I said before, it was a complete breakdown of controls kasi nandiyan naman po yung batas, hindi nga lang po sinunod. Also, the NGOs themselves, once they have the money with them, they are also supposed to follow the procurement law in respect of their own procurement using the public funds, because the character of the funds as public money does not change by the mere transfer of the implementing agency to the NGO.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Last one, very, very, very last one. So, is there a sanction under 9184 for a government agency who fails to require a bond?
I think that there are both administrative and criminal sanctions.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. It was a most instructive hearing, very, very productive. Let me end this hearing by saying that we are doing all these hearings so that the scam, to quote Dean Villanueva, should never again happen. Thank you and good afternoon.